Hi guys, and welcome to part 0, installing Anaconda and getting the dataset. So in this first tutorial we will install the Anaconda IDE, which contains Spider, on which we will implement our chatbot. So just like me, go to Google right now and then type in the research bar Anaconda. Here it is. You take the first link, Anaconda Cloud, and then here you click on download Anaconda. Alright, then you will end up on a new page, and on this page you need to find your system, Windows, macOS or Linux. I am on macOS, so I'm in the right tab, and you need to click on download here for Python 3.6 and not Python 2.7. So there we go, let's click on download. Then the download will not take long, just wait for it to be completed, and once it is the case, you are ready to install Anaconda. So the download will probably go to your download folder, so that's where I'm going to go right now. Here I am, that's the Anaconda installation file, so double click on it, and then very easy, you just need to click on continue, 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 agree, and install for me only, continue, and there we go, install, the installation is on its way. So it should take a couple of minutes, so I'll see you at the end of the installation. It will go without any issue. Perfect. The installation is done, so now just press close, and then if you want you can move the installation file to the trash. So I'm going to do it. And there we go, Anaconda is now installed. And now we're almost ready. What we need to install is TensorFlow, because TensorFlow is not already integrated in Anaconda. However, I know that some of you work on a specific environment that you wouldn't want to interfere with this course. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a virtual environment, and besides it's important to do it because TensorFlow has some issues with Python 3.6. So we're going to create a virtual environment with Python 3.5. So we're going to downgrade to Python 3.5, and inside this environment we will install TensorFlow. So to do all this we need to open either a terminal for Mac and Linux users or the Anaconda prompt for Windows users. So for Mac and Linux users, what you need to do is to open a terminal. So I'm on Mac here, so I'm going to open it from the Spotlight search, terminal, there we go. For Linux users, please open your terminal as well. And for Windows users, what you need to do is go to the bottom left corner of your screen, click on the Windows button here, then in the list of programs you have to find Anaconda, and inside Anaconda you just need to find Anaconda prompt, and that's the equivalent to the terminal. So click on Anaconda prompt, this will open it, and then now we are on the same page. We are ready to enter some commands to create this virtual environment with Python 3.5, inside which we will install TensorFlow. So let's do this. To create a virtual environment in Anaconda, what we need to start with is conda. Then we add create, and then -n, and after that we need to give a name to this virtual environment, and so we will call it chatbot. Alright, chatbot. And so inside this virtual environment we want to install Python 3.5, so make sure to enter Python equals 3.5, and then Anaconda. That's to specify we want to create it in Anaconda, and then that's it, you just need to press enter. Alright, so now it's going to take a while. It's going to install several packages with Python 3.5 inside Anaconda. So it should take a couple of minutes, as you can see. Here you just need to press Y for yes, enter. And now, as you can see, it's installing all the different packages that you will need to implement the chatbot and execute different code. So it's going to take a while, so I'll see you once the installation is done. Alright, perfect. Now the chatbot virtual environment is created. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go inside this environment, we're going to activate it, and then inside of it we will install TensorFlow. So to activate it, you need to use the activate command. However, for Mac and Linux users you will need to start with source activate, and for Windows users you will need to start with only activate. So for Mac and Linux users you need to type here source activate, then you need to enter the name of the virtual environment, which is chatbot, and that's it. And for Windows users you need to just type activate without the source, and then ChatBot. All right. So here, since I am on Mac, I need to start with source before activate, and there we go. Now you just need to press enter. All right. So now, as you can see, I am inside my virtual environment ChatBot. All right, perfect. So now I'm ready to install TensorFlow inside this virtual environment. And to do this, well, that's very simple. We need to enter pip, then install TensorFlow = 1.0.0. We are installing this specific version of TensorFlow that's important for our implementation. All right, and then you just need to press enter, and there we go. This will collect TensorFlow 1.0.0, downloading it, and then installing it inside the virtual environment that we called ChatBot. All right, perfect. Successfully installed TensorFlow 1.0.0. Great. Now you can just close the terminal, and now eventually we're ready to go inside Anaconda. So for Windows users, you can find Anaconda in the list of programs, and for Mac or Linux users, same. I'm going to use the shortcut here. I'm going to open from the Spotlight search, Anaconda Navigator. There we go. Found it. Anaconda is opening, and now I'm going to show you what you have to do. That's very important. This is now that we're going to connect to the virtual platform that we call ChatBot. And to find it, you need to go to Applications on here, then click on the arrow here, and you will find ChatBot. ChatBot, which is our virtual environment that we just created. And then you just need to click on Launch here, on Spider, the Spider window here, because this is the IDE in which we will implement our ChatBot. This is for me the best, especially when you're beginning, because this is like a studio with many features, many cool tools, and everything at your disposal to implement a model, a deep learning application, or an AI. This is very practical. Then another one that I highly recommend is Jupyter Notebook, and that's especially if you want to add some LaTeX, if you want to write some mathematics, especially if you are writing a report. I wrote all my papers and research projects on Jupyter because I included some mathematics. But we won't include some mathematics here, so Spider will be perfect. So let's open our Studio Spider 3 inside the ChatBot virtual environment. Perfect. So now, welcome to Spider for those of you who are discovering it for the first time. So I'm going to quickly describe it. This is the editor. This is where we will implement the code. This is the console. This is where the code will be executed. So for example, in the end, when we test the chatbot, well, we will see the questions that we will enter here in the console and the chatbot answers as well. All right. And then here you have another window that welcomes three features. File Explorer, which contains all your files. So that's important. We will see that in a second. Variable Explorer, which will contain all the variables that you create during the implementation, and help to get some help about the different objects we use or create. All right. So the first thing we're going to do now, and that's very important, is to get rid of this temp.py file by opening at the top. You click on File, a new file. So you open a new file, and then you get rid of this by clicking on Close tab here. All right. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to File Explorer, and I recommend to create a new folder in Desktop. That's what I did. I created the Deep NLP A to Z folder. You can just call it Deep NLP if you want, or any other name. But that will be the folder that will contain the Python files that we will implement. Basically, that's the folder that will contain the chatbot. And also, very importantly, this folder will contain the dataset that we will download in the next tutorial. So let's open it. There is nothing inside because I'm starting from scratch with you. We're going to do the whole implementation from scratch together, and therefore that's why it's empty right now. So what we're going to do is save this new Python file that we just created, and we're going to call it chatbot.py. And this will be the file that will contain the whole implementation of the chatbot. The 4 parts of the chatbot, including how we build it, how we train it, and how we test it. All right. And so this file, chatbot.py, you will, of course, save it in your Deep NLP A to Z folder that you just created. So that's why I'm going into it, Deep NLP A to Z, and then you just need to click on save. All right, and there we go. Now you're ready to start. So we can remove all this. We can give a nice title to our file. We can call it building a chatbot with deep NLP. All right, you can click on save. And there we go. Now you're ready, like me, to start the implementation. Now your folder contains the chatbot.py file in which we will implement the whole model. And now what we need, of course, is the dataset on which we will train the chatbot. And that's what we'll get in the next tutorial. And until then, enjoy Deep NLP.